WAME.
All right, we're live. Welcome to Racing Roots with Hamm, where every Monday night we have a new guest to talk about their racing roots or their path to the racing world. And tonight we've got Phil Cavali.
Woo!
Man, so awesome to have you. Yes. Very excited about this.
Live studio audience tonight.
Live studio audience, we got Liz Petrie and Dawn Clark and Jana Trevison and
Then
Tracy.
300-400 people in the back there.
All right, yes.
Whoa, are you rolling?
Yeah, we're on. She's not on. We're on. So
Here we are.
yep. All right. So yes. All right. So Phil Cavali, how are you doing?
Doing fantastic.
Awesome to see you because it's been a while. It's been like 20.
Yes, it's been 20-some years. Sapco days.
Yeah, the old Sapco
When you
days.
guys did everything instead of just coming in to change tires.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, we did a lot of stuff back in those days. I
Yeah.
mean, you had you pitted the cars and you worked in the shop. So we always used to joke about working 8 days a week. Scott said that earlier today, and I was like, yeah, that's exactly right.
You make my job look real easy. They still do. These guys work hard at the track.
Sure.
I can dip in and out of the media center, and they have to stand under the hot hoods and keep working on the cars.
Right. Yeah. I remember those days. But you know, I retired from NASCAR about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, that's why you look so fresh and relaxed.
I'll tell you, first thing I did was I got a suntan, and I kind of kept it all summer. Yeah.
That's all right. It does your wonders.
I mean, besides the days when I went to the racetrack, of course, I kind of kept a tan, but then during the week I didn't see the sun, so it would go away, and then, you know, that kind of deal.
Yeah.
So you brought some pictures with you today.
Yeah, I have quite a few pictures. I got a call about 24 hours ago from Scott and Jana, and I thought, well, I can take a quick look, and they're doing some spring cleaning and summer cleaning and fall cleaning during the COVID crisis, so I found quite a few and tried to narrow it down to some that would be interesting to show.
Yeah, for sure. And I've already seen some that I've never seen before, because obviously I've seen a lot of your pictures, and you worked for the Winston Cup scene back when it was the Winston Cup.
Well, it was actually called, the Winston Cup scene, and then it became NASCAR Winston Cup scene, and now it's nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It used to be Grand National scene.
Yeah, actually
Yeah,
it
they're
did. Rob Griggs founded it back in, I believe, 77,
I've got some of those.
Grand National scene, yeah.
And they were the newspaper version. I mean, you know, because a lot of people may not know what that is. The
Yeah,
Winston Cup
NASCAR
scene.
scene was like the weekly Bible for the Winston Cup series. Then you had NASCAR Illustrated, which was a monthly slick magazine cover that, you know, did a lot of behind the scenes and more personality stuff.
Yeah.
Before we get into the pictures,
Yes.
Phil, we've been friends for a long time, and I want to thank you for coming up here.
You bet.
You know, David and I have been doing this for a while, but
Oh, yeah.
2 years now is our anniversary this past week.
Has it been?
Yeah,
Okay.
2 years.
but go ahead and just tell us how you got involved, and start off there, and then you can break into your.
You mean meeting you?
No, not me. Well, yeah, we're gonna have questions later on, but just give us your intro into racing and
Through
kind of
racing, grew up in Waterloo, New York, the home of Mike Magic Shoes McClure
Oh, yeah. Remember Mike? Good guy.
and your ex-teammate, Jerry.
Schweitz.
Hard Times Schweitz, he's from Waterloo.
Hard
Graduated
Times.
his brother, John.
Hey, can you do me a favor, buddy? That's all Hard Times.
He's a big guy. You always looked up to him.
Oh, yeah, he was tall. But I called him Good Buddy one time, and he's like, don't ever call me Good Buddy again.
Yeah.
I was being silly, of course.
Yeah.
You know me. Good Buddy.
But grew up there at our local dirt track, which is Maple Grove Speedway in Waterloo.
Okay.
My uncle raced, John Cavali, and he, my aunt would take me to the racetrack every Saturday night and sit with her, and through that, I grew into a big race fan in the 80s, grew into a big Dale Earnhardt fan. Back in the 80s when maybe 2% of the race fans really liked Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah, right. He'd wreck a lot of people.
Yeah.
And make a lot of people mad, that's for sure.
Yeah. I graduated high school and went in the Navy as a photographer for 2 years. And went from there back up to Capitol Hill when I got out in D.C. and was a subscriber to the Winston Cup scene from the mid-'80s and always dreamed about shooting for them. And went to several races. My first race was 86 at the Glen. Went to that and several after that. And I ran into Cindy Karam, who was the ex-photo editor for Winston Cup scene. Ran into her at Watkins Glen, I believe, in '89. And she looked at some of my pictures, wound up hiring me on the spot, and I started shooting for Winston Cup scene the next day. A couple of years later, Cindy Karam got engaged to Bill Elliott. So that's Chase's mom. Cindy was the old photo editor. And then I replaced her as the photo editor in 93. And it was the photo editor at Scene until 2003. And since then, been doing commercial photography.
Very cool. So is there some of the stuff in the Navy that you can't talk about? I mean, what did you take pictures of in the Navy? I'm just curious.
I was actually in the air crew. I got to fly in back seats in F4s and A4s, taking pictures of a F-18 project out of Patuxent River, Maryland.
Wow, I bet that was
I had
exciting.
what they called skate duty in the Navy.
All right.
It was a great time. I did 5 years as a photographer. So
Okay, you must have liked it.
yeah, well, I liked it, but not enough to stay in. Of course, hindsight, we all wish we would have stayed in. I could have, 20 years and getting out when you're 38 years old.
Being retired, yes.
Yeah.
So is Waterloo, is that where the Stonewall Jackson song, wasn't it Stonewall Jackson? Waterloo, Waterloo.
I don't know. I think that's a different Waterloo. I think that might be Napoleon's Waterloo.
Where did you meet your Waterloo?
Yeah. That's right, yeah.
There you go.
All right, well, let's get on with some photos because I know you've got some really classic shots there. And a lot of race fans remember all this stuff. And we've got a lot of folks, all over the country here.
Yeah. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in. I got another camera set up, and we're going to put it on the pictures. So we'll say hey to some of the folks right now.
Yeah,
say
hello.
In. Dickie Dennis. Do you remember Dickie Dennis, the infamous fence climber at Richmond?
Oh, yeah.
Did you get any pictures of him?
You got any pictures of him?
My hero, no.
Oh, yeah.
I've climbed the fence several times. That was just to put a remote camera up. Of course, I had to check with the tower in NASCAR to do that.
Okay. It's funny every time I mention Dickie Dennis, and they're like, I don't know that name. That fence climber at Richmond.
Everybody knows
and they're
Dickie.
like, oh, yeah.
Is he still in jail? Or?
No.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, that's all right.
Right, yeah, he's kicked out of Richmond for life. Yeah.
He staked his claim.
Yeah, he did. So he's laughing now at this. So Rachel Robbins down in Charlotte. And let's see, Dawn Clark is here in the studio with us. Finally, she made it back out. Very good to see you. Linda Jinks. Hi, everyone. Get the show on the road. She was on here before we got started. So what we were doing was we were just kind of waiting to get the pictures laid out and set up so that we could give y'all a really good show. And that's what we're working on. Scott Trevison's right here, my buddy, Beer Man. And Paul Rodriguez is in Port St. Lucie, Florida. He says, hello, everyone. And let's see, wait, let me pour a shot, something like that. Mike Bear, what's up, Mike Bear?
Is Janet
And I am DHammiam. What? I'm sorry, what was that? The picture turner? Maybe she'll do that. Maybe she'll do the honors. I'm going to put her on camera. Oh, missed her. Okay, so the first picture we have on here.
I think we put it up this afternoon. We were asking anyone if they recall who this young man was. This was taken in Loudon, New Hampshire. I don't expect anybody to know.
Yes.
1995. I entered. Most of these are entries I did to the National Motorsports Press Association. They're a yearly contest, in which I've won Photographer of the Year 4 times of doing that.
Yeah.
These are just a bunch that were blown up back in the day when we used to have to print them up to enter them in the contest. So now it's all digital. But
I know one of the answers on Facebook was, my son said it actually, it was Michael Waltrip, I think that's what he said. Because, of course, the Pennzoil hat, yeah. And I said Johnny Benson earlier. Yeah. Because I know you raced in the ASA.
Yeah. No, I was walking through the garage in Loudon. I think it was about 1995. A lot of the years I don't really recall. I'll get as close as I can. But I saw this young man playing on setting all of his cars up in the garage, all around the tire. And I got a quick of that and took a picture. And it's called The Field is Set. And it was a Northeast bush driver by the name of Dale Shaw. It was his son. I don't recall his name, but it was his little boy. So pretty cool little deal. Hold on, we'll leave that there. I'll put this one up. This one here was taken back, I believe, in '91 when I worked for Cindy Karam at the Scene. Cindy Karam Elliott, and it's Alan Kowicki and Bill Elliott coming to the checkered flag to win the race. Bill won the race. I remember Cindy wanted plenty of copies of that. But the funny story behind it is for the following Richmond race, I took it up to Bill and had him autograph it. And he asked me if I was going to have Alan autograph it because Alan was very concentrated on the car 101% of the time. And I said, yeah. He says, I bet he won't. So I took the photo and I bent it over top of the photo of Bill's autograph and left the corner open. I said, Alan, would you sign that? And he kind of peeled back and looked at it and snarked and signed it. So I got it. Yeah. This here was, if you remember the freeze in Atlanta in '93, that I was one of the few people, being from upstate New York near Syracuse, that could drive in the snow. So I got back in the scene van at the time. It was, I think, the third or fourth race of the year, and I was brand new, and I was able to drive. So I drove back to the track, and that was turn 4 at the time, which is now turn 2. And I remember I walked through the garage and took a bunch of pictures of the snowed out cars and walked up into the corner and took this picture of the frozen lights and turned around and fell right on my butt and slid down to the bottom of the hill soaking wet and slush. So.
That was Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
Yes, Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta.
At '93, the freeze in Atlanta.
Yep. And they came back to race it, what, next week, I think?
Cold Atlanta.
Yep. Here's a shot from the '93 Daytona 500 last practice. And all I can say is this guy had more swagger than we could have ever have hoped for. And if he'd have been around to this day, I think we'd all have a lot more championships to get hand around. Davey Allison.
Yeah.
And good friends with his son, Robbie Allison. Robbie loves that photo. It's on his Facebook page. But good guy. Robbie's an awful lot like him. And miss him. There's another one of them. Davey. Great guy. A lot of personality.
There's a lot of Davey Allison fans that follow David here on his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
A lot of Ford fans, for sure.
Yep, for sure.
Davey was something.
He was.
This here, another one from '93, my first year with the scene, working full-time as a photo editor. It was actually the last time he was ever strapped in. This is at Darlington. Paul Anderson? What was his crew chief? Paul
Andrews.
Paul Andrews, yeah. Sorry, strapping in Kawicki at Darlington.
All right, so yeah, we got different questions coming in for different
Sure.
pictures. So I'll have to apologize to y'all for not checking on this while I was looking at pictures, but I was kind of in awe of some of these pictures. Somebody asked, "Is that Dale Jr.?" or Rachel asked, "I'm sorry, is that Dale Jr.?" But I'm not exactly sure which picture.
No, they're probably wondering if that was Junior with the tires and the cars. No, it wasn't. Good guess, but he was around that. I've got a few of Junior when he was really young in here, possibly.
Oh, and then Rachel, she says there's that commercial of him doing that with the Hot Wheels car. That must have been Junior still.
Might have been.
Mike Bear says, I think I'd seen that photo before in one of the old season previews.
It would have been in the scene, you know.
Yep, and then Linda says, I love the way you skip over where I'm from. That's because I don't remember. Sorry. I'm not sure if I remember where you're from, Linda. You have to tell me here in the comments. Lee Troutman, good evening from Lee, Carolyn, and of course, Brett. I've had Brett on my show before. The kid knows just about everything about NASCAR and wrestling and racing. It's his big things. Yes, very cool. All right, so Mike Bear says, I remember that one too. All right, so as you go, I'll try to.
Sure.
Yeah.
He's had Doug Richard on the show there a couple of weeks ago.
Doug's great guy.
Oh, man.
Doug and Robin, good people.
Joey Knuckles he's had on the show already, so he's had some good people.
And
Bill Engel.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you remember John Bryan. He's very photogenic.
Yeah,
Legendary John Bryan.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's been on.
Bounce John Bryan, yeah.
Yeah.
This is from the '95 Indianapolis Brickyard race. I believe that was when Earnhardt won that. He's giving thumbs up, I guess, to Bill Jr. up top.
You know, even though there's a lot of Ford fans on this channel, they all can appreciate Dale Sr.
Oh, yeah.
He was magic.
That photo is just, that smile on his face.
He was my hero somewhat in racing.
Look at that, man.
He was something.
And Trace in the background, that's a great shot. He's looking at you, Phil.
No, he's looking up top.
Oh, okay.
This is another classic from Talladega. I don't recall the year. Scott, you might remember that.
Yeah, I want to think that's probably in the late 90s.
Bobby Hamilton, maybe 98, 97.
Yep.
Bobby Hamilton winning at Talladega and Andy Petrie jumping on the hood and me in a position where I don't know how I got on the other side of the car coming out. I had a few of those altercations. Only called to the trailer one time to take my credential away. I remember the official ran up and he was so nervous because I'd run across the pit road in front of Greg Biffle's car during a cool-down lap.
That's funny.
And we'll get to this mission here with there's always one driver when he causes trouble. I'm always looking to just try to get the picture of him.
I'm sure you had a lot of close calls like that.
Well,
About getting run over.
You got to run out in front of cars once in a while, I guess. Not anymore.
Gotta get that shot.
Yeah. Here's a cool shot from 2000. when he won the championship, I believe it was. Wrecked at Bristol. Dale Jarrett.
So after he won it in 99, so that would have been
99, yeah.
Yeah.
That was when he won the championship. So,
yeah.
yep. Then my hometown hero,
Yeah.
father of the new Max McLaughlin, Mike Magic Shoes McLaughlin.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
Max.
Still every Tuesday night we meet at Shoals Diner, or Shoals in Mooresville for Taco Tuesday night.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, a lot of the old drivers and Mike and some of them new kids come over there. Max will bring some of his friends over there. Haley Deegan, they come over.
I know we were at, I believe it was Phoenix one year, and he walked in the restaurant we were at, and they weren't serving pizza anymore. And he's like, "Here, take the rest of our pizza." So he had like half a pizza left or something. So he gave it to me and Eric Biggin. Remember him?
Biggin, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
That there is brotherly love. Darrell Waltrip and Michael.
It's on a delay.
Bristol, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, it's on it. It is, but I've got it pulled up here where you can see it. It's over here still.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is taken just a few days before he passed in Daytona. We used it for the cover scene. It's snarky. I equate him to like the John Wayne of racing. He just had so much bravado and swagger.
Yeah.
And he'd be the kind of guy that if you ran up to him, and I've done this many times, I'd run up to him on pit road because when I became the photo editor of Winston Cup scene, within the first couple of weeks, we had him in the studio to shoot him with the car, and there's pictures of me with him. And he wanted to know what I was doing in the darkroom. And I took him and Teresa into the darkroom, and he was printing contact sheets that you would do, the contact sheets, and then into the developer. He wanted to personally do a couple of them, you know what I mean? It was a fun little time, but he knew I was a fan of his from before I even got into racing. And I used to be one of those annoying fans of chasing him down and asking questions at dinners and stuff.
Yeah.
And when he knew I was full time, he was kind of like, "Oh no."
Oh no.
but I just stayed professional, and he made a point of it to always let me know that he kind of appreciated it. You know what that meant, Scott. He'd walk by when you weren't paying attention. He'd poke you in the ribs with a Sharpie, or he'd knock my camera off.
Yeah, it hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Grab him by the neck.
many good stories. He was just, but you'd run up to him at pit road and you'd go like, Dale, you'd touch him. And he wouldn't even look at you. He goes, "Get your hands off me. What do you want? What do you want?" You know?
Yes. I'm not going to ask you this because you may show the picture with the champagne picture. You can tell that story, but do you have that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll get to that then. Good.
This is another, now one of my most prized collectibles through the years. A lot of times people will say, "Can I get a picture?" Back then, I'd print a picture up and I would tell them I wanted something from racing from them. And this is one of my most coveted items that I have that is a rare item. And this photo goes with it for the trend of old and new, and that's, I have a pair of Dave Marcus wingtip shoes at
Oh
home.
yeah, the famous wingtips.
And that right heel on the wingtip is on the right side, on the bottom is completely worn, almost like a dish. It's smooth from, break the, yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Very cool.
Back in the day at the scene, I always tried to be really animate about getting good news photos, and there was plenty of action going on. And this was from, I don't recall the year, but it was the bump and run at Bristol between Rusty and Jeff Gordon. And that's Rusty chasing down Gordon and cussing him out afterwards and giving him a hard, And that was with a wide angle, so I was about 3 feet away. But then there's one driver, whenever he gets in trouble, he's my favorite guy to go to. And I always try to be there and get as close as I can. I actually had to take a step back to get this one at Bristol because I saw him flying over the wall.
Yeah.
Jumping into Biffle's face is my boy Harvick.
Yeah.
The veteran now, and probably could be champion this year.
Yeah, it's looking
Oh man, he's really doing well this year.
8 wins.
Yeah, he grabbed Biffle because it was at Bristol, and he waited till the race was over, and Biffle got out of the car, and I saw him kind of run around and jump over the wall and go after, and I just jumped over the wall again. Went up, got a couple quick shots, and backed out. So here's that picture of the champagne you were talking about. February 18th, 2001.
Oh, okay. When he won the Daytona
When Michael
500.
won the Daytona 500 and Dale had
Earnhardt.
crashed in turn 4, and this was such a I mean, it says a lot when Michael got out of the car and was relishing in the moment. And I don't know if any of you have ever seen the movie that he just put out, Michael. I can't recall the name of it.
No, I haven't seen it.
It's incredible.
Y'all went and saw it, right? Scott and Jenna did.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
The Day?
Yeah, the day or no, yes, I can't remember. But a blink of an eye. Blink of an eye.
It came out in Birkdale, wasn't it?
Yeah. I even told Michael it was fantastic. But this is his moment before he knew what was, that day entailed. Where he's relishing in the moment and the team's cheering him.
That's like a time just captured in a moment, I guess.
Oh, it was a beautiful moment.
Just,
he was,
forever.
Yeah, he was
right
so
there.
stunned.
That's a great picture. There's a backstory on my side for that. Was I went and tried out to be the jackman for that team, but I think kind of what they were doing was to get their jackman to kind of step his deal up, because whenever I got there and I saw the jack that they gave me and the way the tire changers were acting, I was kind of like, this isn't even, it's just wasting my time. But it was a deal. Scott Eggleston gave me a call and said, hey, come, for you. He wanted me to come and be the jackman. But so anyway, they went on and won the Daytona 500. But I'm not bitter. It's good because it all worked out. I ended up going over to Yates, and look at the rest is history.
Right.
Yes, that was the best.
Everything's for a reason.
The best move I ever made right there. 16 years with the.
But that
the
day,
Yates.
there's no reason. We won't ever understand that day.
Yeah,
but,
that was.
The next weekend we were in Rockingham, and Steve Park, bless his heart, one of my good buddies. He's
From upstate New York.
Yep, pull the rabbit out of the hat. And back then I had a little liberty to be able to flow and go where I wanted in Victory Lane when I was with the scene. And I went to the back of the crew when he got out of the car for some reason, and I captured him jumping out into the crew with the sun setting behind him. And
You were like right in the middle of it.
well, yeah, it was just, I don't know, quick. Yeah. And then the banquet in New York that year when Garth Brooks sang the dance, they were allowed, I think there were 3 photographers allowed into that. They, I remember Teresa was overjoyed, but Garth was really choked up afterwards.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow. So there's Teresa and Garth.
Yeah. Here's another one of capturing that moment. Yeah. Harvick.
Yeah.
Very outspoken young man. That was the night in Richmond he went after Ricky Rudd.
Oh my gosh. Now look at him.
Yeah, he's killing them with wins now. Hey, you can't. Harvick's good. He really is.
Yeah.
One of my most entertaining drivers and a very good friend of mine. And you know the picture you put up earlier of Tony shaving my mustache off
Yes.
was after I told you it was a bet.
Yeah.
Rookie was when I used to have the old mullet with the scene. Tony, his rookie year, would call me sugar or sweetness or something like that, and say you got to cut that off, and I would say no. And I was with him in Indy for his rookie year with the scene.
Yeah.
Following him around. At the end of the day, I come up. He was at a car dealership, and I opened up the door, and he was in the office with a bunch of the people he knew telling stories with his feet up. And I said, "I'll see you tomorrow, Tony." And he says, "And that SOB, I'm going to take him out sometime, and I'm going to get him drunk and cut all the hair off." And I said, "Well, good luck, because I hardly ever drink." Anyways, we bickered back and forth, and we made an agreement that if he had won a race that year in '99, his rookie year, I'd let him cut my hair off.
All right.
Because nobody done it since Davey, and Davey was quite the talent.
Yeah.
I never expected Tony to be the
Right.
talent.
Yeah.
So he won. Richmond cut my hair all off, and Loudon wanted to continue the bet. So the bet was if he wins again, he cuts my mustache off. So that photo was him cutting my mustache off in Phoenix.
That's cool.
But here's me catching Tony in a moment. And I know that Ryan Newman had won the race, and Tony was still driving for Gibbs, and Matt Borland was walking to Victory Lane, and apparently Tony got put a lap down. He was battling to get a lap back, and Newman wouldn't give it to him. So Tony was yelling at Borland about, "Yeah, you were too afraid to give me my lap back. You know I would have beat you." He used a lot of more colorful language,
Sure.
but it was just, him yelling at Borland. And Borland's kind of got this look at me like, "Hey, sorry, got to go to Victory Lane.
That's right. Yes.
Love to hang out, love to talk."
Yeah. I know you see Tony do that a lot, to a different. I've seen him with Carl Edwards, and I've seen Carl Edwards get back in his. face.
Carl Edwards was a great guy.
Yes.
If there was ever one driver that I think truly appreciated being in the sport from bottom all the way to the top and soaked it up, it was Carl Edwards. Never changed the whole time. He was just as nice from day one, too. No. Another memorable win right after Dale Sr. had died was when Junior came back and won in Daytona, and he and Michael got out of their car. And I think it was the last time I ran, but I ran out there. It was one of those things when your feet get ahead of you or behind you, and you got so much momentum you almost fall. The camera's in my hand and out of the air, and I stopped and tried to hold the camera still enough, holding my breath, and my heart's going.
Because that's a long way from pit road all the way out there.
Yeah, out there where they spun around and they got out. Yeah, I don't remember nothing else.
I don't think anybody else has got that picture. No way.
I don't know. Anyways,
Oh man, that's a good one.
here's a picture I really like. I know you went to Japan twice.
Yes, 96,
I went
98.
once in '96, and I'll never forget it. It was wonderful.
That was where Elmo passed away, right?
No, that was a couple years later. We have any questions?
Let's see. We have Linda says Michael has always been my favorite, one of my favorites. Linda Jinks, a blink of an eye.
Blink of an eye.
Let's see, Mike Bear. Yeah, I couldn't understand what he was saying, Harvick, and that yap mouth. Talking about Harvick. Dickie Dennis is the big time Fear for the Four. He's probably talking about Dickie because Dickie is he has his own Facebook page, Fear the Four. So yeah.
Oh, for Harvick,
he
everybody
loves
should
Harvick.
fear the four.
He loves the Harvick.
He's got so much confidence, and he's so smooth.
I wish you brought that one picture of him going from top to transporter to transporter.
Oh no,
That is classic. Another right?
I know. Well, he probably wasn't supposed to do that.
No, nobody. Yeah, they were getting in trouble, I guess, for doing
Yeah,
it, and
yeah.
you were right there. I don't. Okay.
Dickie did ask a question. He says, "Do you think Kevin Harvick is Dale Earnhardt's prodigy?"
No.
There's not going to be another.
Jr.'s the prodigy.
Right.
Here's a good shot that I was at the banquet in 1994 with Dale Sr. and Richard Petty on stage in front of Dale's trophy. And this is autographed by both of those guys. And I put it right in front of their faces to have it autographed, so I know it is.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Very
it's
nice.
kind of cool.
Wow, that is something. That's
Here's another autograph. We used to take, whenever they decided who the front row was for Daytona, on Saturday morning before the 500 at 8 a.m. before the cars had final practice, we would roll the front row out onto pit road, and about 10 photographers, 5 to 10 would meet out there with the sun just coming over, and we'd shoot the front row, and there's an autographed copy by Ernie and Dale.
Wow.
That was, I think, oh gosh, I don't recall, 95, 94.
Wow.
Ernie Irvin, 94.
Yeah, Earnhardt's autograph was real loopy. He's got a lot of loops in there. Very seldom can you actually read Senior's autograph if you see it.
I like Kyle Petty's.
And if you can read it, then it's not a real Dale Earnhardt
Richard
Senior.
Petty, he does the most beautiful autograph. Takes his time.
Of course.
A lot of movements there. So we were talking about Japan. This is a photo that I took, and we remember old Hat Man.
Yeah.
Bill Broderick, the big red, slick back hair and the beard, and he met this. I love this. I call it East meets West. I just love that.
Oh yeah, that's a great picture.
Yeah,
He was
Broderick
always in
Japan.
victory lane with those hats.
Yeah.
Bye y'all. Good night. Thank you for coming
Good
out.
night.
See you.
Bill, it was amazing.
Thank you.
I liked it.
Oh, you ain't. I haven't got to the cry pictures yet. Here's the cry picture.
I'll tune it in when I go home and keep one.
All right.
Okay, we're gonna get a cry picture here.
Yeah.
And this is our good friend Peter Rabbit, Peter Jones, making the final lap. You see this photo on Facebook. I don't ever get credit, but
Okay.
that's Peter making the final lap of Kawicki's rig at Bristol the day after he had passed away. Yeah, checkered flag, Doyle Ford.
It's
That was a tough day, boy, back in '93.
That was, I went to the, I do have a photo. I went to the airport with my editor at the time, Deb Williams, and we spent hours there. And I have a photo of all the Cal and all those guys in that room with TR and the local sheriff telling him about the crash site, et cetera, et cetera.
sometimes the camera will get blurry and it almost look like it was a little bit.
Here's a classic gentleman that He was the how would you say, the man under the big top for NASCAR. This was taken back in 93 or 94 at Darlington Motor Speedway, and that was our hero, Jim Hunter.
Yep.
Quite the man. What a guy. Great guy. His wife always loved that photo.
Been around for a long time and heavily influenced.
Yeah. This picture actually is one of the newest pictures I'll show you, and it was probably taken in the last 3, 4, 5 years. It was at, they don't have the photo location anymore at Homestead, but it was in the middle of the backstretch. There was a little area about 6, 7 inches tall and about 2 feet long. And you could barely put your camera through, and I get a couple shots. Just love that halo of the sun coming down the backstretch there at Homestead.
Wow.
That one. That is a cool one.
That looks, I mean, and okay. So are the cars parked out there? I mean,
Parked?
I don't know, man. It's just
They're
what it
coming
looks
200
like.
miles an
At the
hour at you.
backstretch.
It's just so, gosh.
That's Jenny Hamlin leading.
I mean, that's a
right
great
there, yeah.
picture right there.
That's why I have
you're
a few videotapes that I've got off my phone of the cars coming down the backstretch there, and they go by so quick. And
Yeah.
I said, so make sure you get it in focus, and you got to make sure you know which
Right.
one's yours. You know, the lighting's not perfect.
Yeah.
My buddy Sam Sharp shoots for General Motors. He has to set in areas like that all day long and shoot every lap, every car practically, you know,
Yeah.
all this GM stuff that goes on, every series. So I get a chance to move around. But this is a photo I took at the end of '93 in Atlanta when Earnhardt had clinched the championship and Rusty won the race. And they did a tribute to Davey and Alan. And Sam Bass, God bless his soul, greatest guy I'd ever met, asked me to make if he could make it into a photo. It was the cover of the scene, and he entitled it "Champions Forever." And this I'm trying not to get caught up in the emotion of it, but when Sam passed away, they had an estate sale, and I wound up buying the original of that painting from him. Yeah, I've got it at home on my wall. It's a treasure.
Wow.
Treasure.
Very cool.
Sam was a treasure. He was just the most gracious person you'd ever meet. I was standing on pit road in like 1991 or 1990 shooting the Winston, and this gentleman come up to me. He goes, "Hey, can I buy a roll of film from you, you know?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." And I worked for a news agency in D.C. at the time. And I said, "Here, I'll just give you a roll." He goes, "Can I give you $20?" And I'm like, "No." He goes, "What's your name?" And I said, "Phil Cavali." He says, "Well, I'm Sam Bass." And I about, "You're Sam Bass?" I do, honest. I get goosebumps right now thinking about it. He was just the most humble gentleman you'd ever met. Have you ever met Sam?
I don't know.
You met him.
Yes, oh yes.
Oh,
yes,
to the day
yes.
he passed, he was just come up and give you one of them real gracious handshakes and just, a real treasure. Him and Gary Hill were both fantastic
Oh, yeah.
artists.
Scary.
Gary was a friend of mine. We actually went to church together, and I knew him very well. Him and Pam.
Yeah, him and Pam. Yep. His daughter just got married
Wow.
last year. Yep.
Oh, really?
Yep. Just this past year. Yep.
He went to school with Dickie Dennis. Went to school with Sam Bass.
Wow.
Wow.
Small world. Okay. How about
From
that?
Virginia. Virginia. Yeah.
He said, "Yeah, Hopewell Blue Devil." Wow, that's cool. Small world.
So here's one of my favorite photos. If there's a top 10 or something like this, and this is because he's a great guy, and I always have a theory at the racetrack of that I don't necessarily want to be where everybody else is. I want to go somewhere where nobody else might get something. And
Yeah.
This was in, I think it was 97 or 98 at Watkins Glen when Steve Park won. And I just stayed away from Victory Lane, and I had a 300 millimeter. When Steve got out, he got up on top of the car on the front stretch. He has a beautiful one of those hanging in his
That's
at his
awesome.
house.
With the
yeah,
fence there,
Yeah,
the
and I got a
wall.
uniform of his from that. Yeah.
That's a beautiful shot.
Very cool. You know, thinking about Steve Park, I remember, and I don't remember, okay, was it Darlington? I just remember being there. It was somewhere, and then his car just went right to the wall. Like the steering wheel would come off.
That was
Something
that
crazy.
was Atlanta.
Was it?
Atlanta.
Oh, Atlanta when he hit, he knocked
Atlanta.
his teeth out.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
hit the wall.
I guess it was
Yeah.
then. Yeah.
Here's when we were talking about who's the guy that climbed the fence?
Dickie Dennis.
Dickie. I climb fences too.
Oh, let me put this on.
That is from that's Jeff Gordon's first win in '93 in the Gatorade
You had to climb up the
qualifier.
fence?
Yeah, I had a remote camera. David Hoots from NASCAR, the tower up there, used to let me post all the time.
Wow.
That's a good shot.
That is.
Yep. Question?
So you'd be the original
awesome.
fence climber.
No, I don't know about the original.
We had some comments that just, this is a great picture of Dale Sr., Rachel earlier. And then,
Thanks, Rachel.
and then Suzette, let's see. Oh, Rachel says, such amazing moments captured in time.
Yes.
And yeah, and then Dawn had mentioned that she was, if you were here, you'd be weepy like me. And let's see, we scroll down. And that was about it. We had it is sad about Kowicki. He showed the American dream was possible. Rachel Rodman, yes.
I remember after friending Sam Bass back in the early 90s, he used to get some photography from me, and he said, I need you to ask Alan to pose with his hands on his hip looking at you, and then cross his arms, and then do a quarter shot. And I'm like, yeah, no problem, Sam. Yeah. And I remember going up to Alan at Richmond, and I was like, hey, Alan, I shoot for Sam Bass, and he's looking at me, what? And he says, I wanted to pose you for a couple pictures. He goes, I don't pose for photography. Just get out of here.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Okay.
All right,
and you know what? Alan was consummate. He was so meticulous. He didn't have a minute for nothing, nothing like that. He was so dedicated to working on his car, and that showed through. I mean, he was an amazing man.
Bob Patterson's tuned in.
Bob!
He says,
Hey, Bob. Hey, Bob.
What's up, Bob? He says Trev mastered Sterling's autograph.
Oh,
yeah, Bob Patterson went to the track with us. He was one of the weekend guys, the weekend warriors.
Set up the pits.
Yeah.
Of course, we missed Mr. Excitement. This was at Dover, him and Wally Dallenbach storming at each other.
Yeah.
Jimmy, what a guy.
Yeah.
We miss him.
Yeah.
And then one of the favorite photos I have I could not find, and it was Randy LaJoy winning his championship at Homestead and getting out after doing donuts. The smoke rose, and when the smoke settled, he was out with his finger in the air. And I couldn't find a copy of it, but here's another really good one of Randy celebrating his championship.
And Randy surely likes to partake in a few adult beverages, I'm sure.
Oh, Randy's a great guy. Great guy.
Wow, look at this next one, man.
Oh, the next one here?
Yes.
Well,
dude.
you know what? Everybody saw Newman thankfully flip
Yeah.
and walk away in Daytona this February, but don't forget he's flipped there before. He's
had practice.
head like a stump. He's a great guy, though. He's got a heart of gold for animals.
One of the state's zone, right up the road here.
Yeah.
I had built an engine for, let's see, Elliott Sadler. And I think it was Elliott's, I'm pretty sure, that engine we got back, but it was the one that was like laying out on the grass. I think it was Daytona or somewhere. Yeah.
Jenna.
So
He was the other boxer.
I remember seeing pictures. And you were talking about Carl Edwards. I actually was the first engine builder for him in the Cup Series when he
Really?
came to drive for us in
God,
that
he
99
was-
car. Yeah.
I've got a photo his rookie year. I got a photo of his rookie year of Carl in Phoenix near the end of the year when he drove in a truck race. And as soon as he got out of his truck, two little kids ran over. One kid had a bicycle, one of those little small bicycles, and said, Carl, will you show my friend how you can ride this backwards? And he didn't miss a lick, got on it backwards with his behind him, and he just rode it in figure eights and all over the place and jumped off. And I thought, after he just drove 150 miles.
Yeah, he was in great shape.
Oh,
yes.
yeah, he's just a great guy.
Yeah, when I met, the first time I really kind of met, well, we were at the championship banquet, and he's like, here's my phone number. You're going to be my engine builder. He said, we'll get together and go to lunch and all this stuff. So I would call him from time to time after, he would do really good or something. But, that's the way it goes. And then he went on and almost won the championship.
He's a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
Miss a lot of those guys like that. Here's who's the big Michael Waltrip fan?
My son, Tyler, I guess.
Yeah, this is Michael. I got invited to, I don't remember where this was, but Michael was telling a story at the Comedy Zone.
Oh, yeah, wow.
And it was something about a bear. I don't remember it.
Then he went on to be in Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, he's a classic part of NASCAR. He always will be. And then, yeah, the Sherrills Ford Posse. That's where I live. There's all the King's men. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They were all such great guys back in the day. Well, most everybody on all the teams that we traveled with and stuff were some of them were kind of like a little bit more uppity, I guess. The Hendricks bunch always seemed
Not
kind of
that
like that.
much. Well, you ought to be at the track now.
Okay, it's been a while since.
Well,
I've
those
been to the
guys
pits.
are tuned in, though. I know a
Yeah.
lot of the younger guys, and it's fun being the older guy because I walk around like a grumpy Don Rickles.
Yeah, sure.
Somebody will come up and they'll be like, "Hey, this is," and the guys that know me will do this. They'll be like, "Hey, this is the new guy. This is Jerry." Jerry will reach his hand out. I'm like, "Get your hand out of my face."
You all glicky them.
Yes, I don't shake hands.
I would say,
Especially for
If
young.
you want a championship, or else, I like going up to these big, beefy guys. There was a guy on a team that played for the Baltimore Ravens, and I mean, he's built big, long dreadlocks. And they introduced me to him, and he puts his hand out and shakes it. And I shook his hand because he's big.
Yeah,
And
sure.
I said, "I'll shake your hand," and I poke him hard in the chest. I said, "But don't you ever get in my way." And they know. They all start laughing. Thank God, or I wouldn't be here now. It's
Right, sure. Let's see. Dickie Dennis says Tony Stewart inspired me, but he hasn't made it to the top of the catch fence.
Hey,
Well, yeah,
I got
that's
a quick
true.
question. Do
yes.
you not think that when Tony Stewart came in and him and Senior were getting together and you were walking down pit road, I guarantee you Senior probably said, "And you see that guy right there?" I guarantee you that was a conversation.
Yeah, but I mean, after I let Tony cut my hair off,
Yeah.
I had carte blanche with just respect from him,
Yeah.
and that was a treasured thing. You know,
That's cool.
and I always got along fantastic with Tony because I knew not to smother him or ask him for anything. One time he had to look at me and go, "Don't you dare!" And that was when the issue with the Hans device was going on after Earnhardt's
Yeah.
situation the next year or so when they were trying to mandate the drivers to wear the Hans or the Hutchins device.
Right. One or the other.
And
Yeah.
Tony had to put it on for practice one day, and I went in for I'll get this shot. And I peeked around the edge, and he's like, "Don't even do it."
He's watching you. So yeah, that's what that. I guarantee you Senior
So
probably said that.
my uncle was he loved taking pictures. So I'm sure I told him he needed to tune in. I don't know if he is or not. I don't see him, but he was the one that took those pictures that I sent you
Oh, yeah,
copies of.
yeah, pit road, yeah.
You taking pictures of us
Yeah.
during our pit stop. Those were from him.
Yeah.
And he
That's
dropped
a-
his lens cap down in the blue in the Porta John. That,
Oh,
I took him to Wilkesboro, Charlotte, and maybe Rockingham. Yeah, Rockingham. I think he did. It might have been at the last Wilkesboro race.
Good thing you
Yeah,
have you seen?
he went
any-
in after it too.
Have you seen any of the Lost Speedways Dale Jr. and Matthew Dillner are doing on Peacock TV?
Yeah, there was one for
Oh,
Wilkesboro.
you got to watch it. It's fantastic. I drove up to one of the speedways in Raleigh about 2 weeks ago, walking around to Hillsboro.
Okay.
Big one, just about a mile. It's beautiful. It's parked now for people to walk around. So, yeah, it's great
Yeah.
TV. Here is the man with them wild bubble glasses, and I'm proud to say I own one of his helmets.
Open face mask
I
helmet.
got one of his helmets at home.
Very nice.
Real nice.
Yeah.
Now here's a picture
Yeah.
that'll bring back quite a discussion about where it was taken.
I know. I can
Jana?
see it. I can see it from the back of it. I know where.
Can you name them, fellas?
That's that
Let's
sandwich,
see.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over here, this is Sam, one of the owners, and that's Chad Little, Derek Cope, Dale Jarrett. This guy was a country music artist. I don't recall his name. Michael, and then that's Sam Bass.
Yep. I thought he looked familiar. I've been
Yeah.
around Sam Bass. I just never actually met him. I don't believe.
My
So.
friends tell me when I
Always
first
smiling.
moved here, I lived at Sandwich Construction Company. I was
Oh,
up there.
it was so much fun. You have no idea the fun. The
That
place
looks-
was just covered in a lot of Sam Bass's artwork, a lot of original sheet metal from all different teams and stuff. It was all original stuff.
That was the place.
Here's an oldie from back. I don't think I was credentialed to shoot this, but I somehow got my way to Victory Lane. I used to sneak in a lot of places. I think that right there isn't that? Yeah, Dale Jr. with Dale Sr.
Steve Warner. Steve Warner, is that the guy?
Steve Warner, yes.
I had it in my head, and I'm
Yep,
looking and looking.
absolutely right. Yep.
He's been around for a long time.
And I was like, okay, some fools never learn. And then I said, it was Steve.
Yep,
But yeah,
yep.
there we go. Okay, so there's Dale Jr.
That's young. And
That was Richmond. I want to say, oh, well, it had to be past 88 because that's when Goodrich came on board. I would say 88, maybe 89. Well, I was credentialed then. And here's another time when I jumped the wall. Why not? We jumped the wall, right?
Yeah.
Now there's no way you can be jumped the wall. That was a fire at Talladega on James Finch's car, and I don't know, for some reason I just figured I could put it out with a camera just over the wall.
One of those cameras that squirts water.
I got it.
Yep. Am I out of pictures?
You get one more box.
No.
That's it.
I think that's it.
So Lee Troutman says, my wife and had the pleasure of meeting Sam Bass, Carolyn Troutman. And
Sam was a great guy, man. I mean,
so Paul Rodriguez, he says Alan had a comb in the door of the race car so he would look good for his picture.
okay, so again, hey Phil, I need a photo. Tom Roberts gave it to me. I have one of Alan's combs and the shampoo that he used. It was called Champions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I have that. I have some of my other unique collectibles. I have the face shield that John Andretti wore to both Indy and the Double Duty. From the first Brickyard 400. I believe I'm the only one that has it because one of my good friends tried to have it. We bought the flag, the big flag that was from the first Brickyard 400. Went around and had every driver in the field sign it over a period of time. I grabbed Jeff Brabham and AJ Foyt and all those guys right there that weekend, back when you could get an autograph. And my good friend Tim White from up in Maryland, he went around. At the end we got together, and Tim had actually had one extra person on the flag that wasn't in the field. So I'm the only one that has the full
Wow.
field. Yeah, it's
How
on
about
my
that?
wall at home. There's a lot of neat stuff.
Yeah.
I've got
We need to take a tour.
there.
He was asking about this.
That's
Oh
the
yeah,
one.
that's Earnhardt.
Yeah.
Back in '94.
Hold on. Let me switch cameras here.
Back in 1994, they would allow us to jump on the float that they took around, the Champions float around Atlanta for all the winners and their spouses and teammates and stuff. And they were allowed 3 or 4 photographers up front, right in front of where the winner was, with the crew chief and the owner and the spouses.
That's Phil's hair, by
Go
the way.
closer,
Yeah,
Tanner. Go closer.
yeah.
Go closer, and you can
Yeah.
see closer.
He's pouring champagne down. I said, "You got any
Yeah.
more champagne left?" And he grabbed my hair and pulled it back, and he poured the champagne in, and one of the fellow photographers took that. I also have an angle from the ground, but yeah, it was.
Dude, that's Earnhardt pouring
I
champagne in
know,
your
I
mouth.
know. That's how great. That's how
cool
great
is
he
that?
was about. I mean, there were a lot of tales. There was one
man.
time leaving Bristol Motor Speedway,
That's some
and I
fun.
had the scene van, and I was headed north out in front of the Speedway back in like '96, and I'm sitting in traffic. You know how it was, you know.
Forever.
Yeah,
4
so
hours.
all of a sudden I hear this horn on my right-hand side, and I look over, and there's a big old Cadillac sitting there, and it's Earnhardt.
Yeah.
He's like, because I had the scene logo on the van, he's like,
Oh.
let me in. And I'm looking at him like, no. And while I'm looking at him going, no, the car ahead of me moved, and he pulled right in front of me. And I thought, oh, so why not, right?
Yeah.
Boom! I give him a little bump in the rear, and he puts his hands up like this, and then I give him another bump, and he just peeled out and went down the roadway all the way up and got back on it.
He's going.
Next weekend, we're in Wilkesboro, and I'm walking through the garage Friday morning. This is where drivers would just hang out on the back of their hauler, and he's standing there with his hand on his, and he goes, "Cavali, come here." And I walked up, and I had a scene uniform on, and he, you know, kind of seriously but jokingly grabbed me by the lapels and started rocking me back and forth. And he says, "Don't you ever do what you did last week." I'm like, "What?" He goes, I had a Coca-Cola on the floor, and it spilled all over the floor. And he says, that was one of Rusty's loaners from Rusty Wallace's Cadillac dealership up there. And he says, "Rusty will never loan me another car."
Yeah.
Sorry, Dale.
Well, that's good. That's so sorry.
That's a good story. I've
Oh,
never
there
heard
was
that
just
one.
way too. My favorite Earnhardt story would be in the. Now you remember Ernie Mache? Ernie Mache, we're going to call you here. He vowed. This was the back seat in 1997 for the Pepsi Firecracker 400. Mike Skinner on the front row, Earnhardt on the outside front row. Back then, that's when I could lean out the passenger side. Elmo Langley would slap me when we had to get in. When I'm taking pictures of Earnhardt and Skinner, all of a sudden Earnhardt pulls up alongside of the car, puts his hand out, and high fives me like that. And I was like, oh my God.
That's
So
crazy.
Ernie Mache is in the back seat with a wide angle shooting through the rear window. I'm like, Ernie, did you get that photo? Ernie, did you get it? Did you get it, Ernie?
Yeah.
He goes, no, but I saw it.
Oh,
So
man.
we could call Ernie right now, Ernie Mache.
Oh,
And he would be like, okay, Phil, you want to hear the story? Because I vowed that he would be on call the rest of his life if I needed to tell that story.
Yeah, that's great. I was going to say that picture where he was holding your hair, and another
I saw it.
photographer took it. I was thinking that, you know what, only David Shoback could take a picture that good, probably.
Oh, David was a photographer that had been following the series from the early 70s and had some of the most memorable photos. But you would always see David coming in on Friday and Saturday to the racetrack with an 8x10 box, Kodak box. And he would have it full of victory lane photos, pit stops, pictures of guys, and he'd sell them for $10 a piece. So anybody that runs across the back of an 8x10 that has a little sticker that says Chobat Images, that was David Choback.
Yeah. I've got those. I've got a lot of those,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, and I mean, thank goodness he did that back in the day, because that's where a lot of guys will come up to me now and say, hey, you got anything from 1997?
Right, like me.
Yeah, like, somewhere.
Yeah. I know. I wondered when I first put them like on Facebook and on my Flickr page. I was like, okay, is this copyright? I'm not sure, whatever. But
No,
yeah,
that's like me.
what it is.
People ask about buying these photos, and NASCAR has strict regulations on copyright and stuff like that, because you have sponsors involved and drivers involved, and those are, copyrighted images and trademarks and stuff. But I hope in the next couple of years to have a book come out to have a couple photos in here that you didn't see yet that we talked about. We could talk about that photo I showed you, which was, if you remember, Dale Sr. passing out in 1997 at Darlington after the green flag. His car come to a stop, and they carried him away. Well, I was in the pace car and got let out of the backstretch on top of one of the pit boxes, and they brought him right underneath me, and the picture's never been seen or run. And I got a picture of him passed out with the oxygen mask on and his uniform unzipped, and he's just kind of laying there. They're carrying him right away.
Yeah.
Then I have a picture of Dale the night before he passed away of him and Terry Bradshaw doing a little piece for Fox Sports, which was their first Daytona 500. They did a little promo where Dale went around in the car and stopped and got Terry in the car and took him for a lap, and then spun out and pulled him up on top of the hood of the car, and they put their fist in the air, and the sun's going down, and I one of two people that got that shot. So.
Wow. Yeah. That was the year Terry Bradshaw was coming around. I actually was hanging out. I think it must have been Daytona where he was hanging out with us and Armando, because he was like, hey, or we were somewhere, and he's like, hey, do you want to go back to the house? And Gigi's tuned in too. She says, hey, hey guys. She says, hey, love the pictures, Phil. Great memories.
Oh, Gigi, what year was it that I did the double duty with Robbie Gordon? Was that 95 or 96?
97.
97 with Coors Light.
Yeah, it was 95 and 96 was with Kyle, and then 97 was with Robbie.
97 it must have been, because we flew there with Sabco in the morning. Gigi arranged all that.
Yep.
And I got a uniform, one of Robbie's uniforms from her for that.
Oh, the Robbie Gordon.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Coors
Yeah.
Light when
We
he
had
did
the
the
nicest
double.
uniforms those years.
Yeah,
I had two of them.
Pretty. Yeah.
And they're heavy, but they're definitely a breathable material, I guess.
Yeah, when you go to buy drivers' uniforms, make sure they're real and they got the Nomex inside of them.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure Gigi'd come up here and do racing routes for you. She got some stories.
Yeah, that would be cool.
She said the country music
Come on.
artist was Steve.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the obligatory beer man question of the week. You're going to have to answer it.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that, right, Phil?
Get smacked there. I ask all our guests, what's your favorite Sterling Marlin story?
I can't tell that. I can't tell that.
Standard
You got a
question.
good one.
You know, I know too many about Sterling.
Okay,
He was
your
a
second or
no,
third
I
one.
can't. This
Yeah,
can't,
too
you
many.
can't. We can't talk about that here. He was.
Do you have any pictures of him pulling a fender?
Yep.
Bob Ederson says 97.
No, my favorite Sterling
Come on.
story was at the Camelback at Pocono.
Uh-oh.
You remember this, don't you?
I'm sure I was there. I spent a lot of fun at Pocono.
And I was
The Chateau.
coming in from the end of the day, Friday or whenever it was, Saturday, and I push the elevator button, and I'm standing with all my equipment, and the door opens, and Sterling steps off, and he's got a pretty little gal under each arm. And I said, "What are you doing, Sterling?" He says, "I'm getting..." Anyways.
That's not a good story. You got a better one than that.
I forgot the ending of that. I just marveled at what he said.
Just have a good time. These girls are.
Oh, boy.
It was a joy. That, and also I had a room next to him at Dover at the casino one time across the hall. All weekend long, open and closing the door, open and closing the door. Yeah, Sterling knew how to bring the gals in. He was
We love
a lot
Sterling.
of fun.
Miss him.
How cool is that?
Yeah. Okay, that'll pass. That's a good one. Yeah.
So Gigi says, actually, John Sands got to go. I was with Joe. And, of course, Dickie loves Coors Light.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's the old scene with the old Earnhardt cover.
Yeah, we got a lot of good scenes.
Yeah. Oh, there is. Two of my favorite photos I have is one I gave to Dale to sign, and he's looking over the car right at me with this intense look. And I says, "Personalize that for me." And he wrote, "Phil." He goes, "What do you want me to write?" I said, "Well, write what was on your mind in the photos." And I got it at home and on the wall. It says, "Phil, leave me alone." And then also at the banquet in '94, I put a photo in front of him and Teresa, because I always like to keep on his annoying side, so he's always knew I was there. And kind of coming back like a bad penny,
Yeah.
I put this photo in front of him. I said, "Will you sign that?" And he wouldn't look at me. He looked at it and he shook his head and he goes, "Did you get that from my mama?" I said, "Yes, sir." He autographed it. He goes, "I better never see it published." And I have it at home, and it's autographed, and he's 6 months old, naked on a blanket in the backyard.
Yes.
You've seen that.
Yes, you showed me that one.
autographed copy.
Yes. And did you take the picture of the one when Sterling won the Michigan race when I'm dousing the beer on him? I think you did. Didn't you take that one?
Could be.
Yeah,
Could be.
Because you gave me an 8x10 afterwards. So that had to
Probably.
be. Yes.
We'll have to look on the
Doesn't say-
back.
Yes.
Joe Bad Images, yeah.
Yeah, right. That's a little sticker.
That's when the
I
beer
didn't put
man-
anything on the back
Okay.
of mine. I would just say,
Yeah, because there was Stephen Rose, too, but he would write with a marker, I believe. And he had his
A
code.
couple of guys sold 8x10s, but David was synonymous for that.
Oh, he'd come to the shop, on the weekdays.
Because he made his money a lot of money doing that. Bless his heart.
Yeah.
And back then, an 8x10, even though you get $10 for it, you probably had to pay $5 or $6 to have it printed back then. And now you can get them printed for $1.25 all day long.
Sure. Yeah. I know, let's see, his were $10, and it seems like Stephen Rose's were like $8. So I was like, hey, a guy come along, but that's undercut and whatever.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
bought a bunch so bad.
Pocket of $2 bills.
Yeah.
Because we didn't win very often, but when we won, man, it was time to cash
Yeah.
in.
And David Chobat was all about making sure he stick around to shoot all the team shots.
Yep.
And he would print up probably 20 of them, take them to the shop that week right afterwards.
He did.
Fellas.
Yeah.
He had that blue Camaro. Remember that Camaro he pulled driving?
Yeah, he passed away driving that. He was taking pictures to Hendrick Motorsports.
Yeah, so Bob says Shobat and Steve did that stuff. And then Rachel says, but what about Brad and the flag? You just got to want to support Brad and the flag. Brad's got some cool pictures with that flag hanging out the window. Good stuff.
Oh, Keselowski, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, he's synonymous with that. He's an All-American driver.
Yeah, for sure. I love seeing the flag hanging out and the smoke rolling out the back of the car. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, we did buy them every week. Bob says I've got my collection of pictures, and but there's a lot of them I turn down. I'm like, it's $10. I only get $20 per diem for the weekend. So
Right.
it's like anyway. So all right, well.
So who's your prediction to win the championship this season?
Well, when I go to Vegas every year, and I went in the spring, I go in and put money on hockey for the Stanley Cup. I'm out of that deal.
All right.
And then I bet on 3 or 4 Cup drivers for the championship.
Yeah.
And I bet on 3 drivers this year, and I bet on Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, and Joey Logano.
Okay.
I like Joey. I'm a Joey fan. I like
Oh,
Joey.
yeah.
I have a feeling it's Harvick or Chase.
Yeah. Harvick's. hard to. I mean, I think he's won 8 races.
Yeah, Harvick he's almost like the shoe-in, but then you got Hamlin too. You know, it's going to be interesting. It really is. Mm-hmm. And I like that format that they have at Phoenix now, the way they've reconfigured that track.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really do a lot as far as changing the track, other than the layout of where the start-finish line is, right off of turn 4. I mean, it's almost like Talladega is going into 1. That is off of turn 4, which makes interesting for even restarts when you get a restart and the zone to restart is in the corner. So you talk about tire adhesion. Yeah. You're on the throttle trying to come off the corner, taking the green flag. It can really, same as racing back to the flag.
Like, that's not the slipstream. That would be where you can go up top and then drop down. It gives you that little extra boost. There's the slipstream.
Where they take it way on the back stretch there, or the front stretch now.
Yeah, very cool. So,
and they did a great job, Phoenix did, with the layout for fans. I mean, they have like lounges where you can sit right behind pit road, behind the teams. It's really one of the most fan-friendly tracks redos that I've seen.
What did they do with the Rattlesnake Hill? I think that what it was?
Yeah, it's still up there, I'm sure.
Yeah, you just don't have as many people going up there that you used to.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, man. This has been so
pleasure.
awesome.
My pleasure. It's nice to relive the old times.
Absolutely.
There it is. That's why you got those photos, man.
And now
Photo Phil.
Now it's documented on our YouTube channel, and you can go back and watch it and share with your friends and pass it along, you know, for the next generations of people that weren't around in racing when this stuff was going on. You know.
Anybody you want to plug while we're still here?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, just thanking my sponsors, Exalta and Caterpillar.
There you go.
Awesome.
That's good. And we want to thank Billy Buck and DHammiam for having us over here tonight.
That's right. We are in the Randy Marion studio here in downtown Statesville, 101 South Center Street, where we host our shows every morning from 6 to 10, Billy Buck Morning Show. And then we have our Drive at Fives now on Thursdays and Fridays, where we have live bands and music right up here on the stage. And then on Wednesday nights, we have the Piedmont Folkways radio show at 7:30, and we just have some really awesome music. We have people in here, and it's just beautiful time. Great stuff. Mostly like bluegrass, the folk type, the roots of music. Kind of like my show is the roots of racing. So, So tune in. Y'all can check that out on our Piedmont Folkways Facebook page and on WAMEradio.com. And do you have a website, anything, Phil?
No, not really.
You just have your Facebook. Because I'm sure some of my friends here will be
Phil Cavali Photography on Facebook.
Send you some, like your page and that kind of stuff. Yeah, but thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks to Beer Man.
Thanks, y'all.
And everybody for coming out, everybody for watching. Check out my website, DHammiam.com.
And don't forget, it's a national holiday weekend this weekend coming up.
Oh, yeah.
It's Talladega weekend.
Yeah.
It's a national holiday weekend in my book.
We got a big party coming up this
Are
weekend.
they allowing fans this weekend, I think?
They said limited, so they're kind of keeping it in the limbo.
Yeah.
Good.
Got to get fans back.
Yeah, that's right. All right, thank y'all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next Monday evening. I don't know who the guest is going to be yet,
Don't forget,
we'll get someone.
Don't forget to punch like and subscribe.
Yes, I always forget that.
Yeah, I know, you got to.
Yeah, thank you. Hit that like, subscribe. Check out my website, once again, DHammiam.com. That's where all my social links are, and any other, this show, the link to this show, and the picture of the thumbnail will be on my website tomorrow. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Love you, mean it.